Two teams going in opposite directions meeting up for a huge Thursday night showdown in Detroit.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, here we go, everybody. Matt Dery, Locked On Lions. Marcus Mosher, Locked On Cowboys. It is crossover Thursday, indeed, as we get you set for the Lions and Cowboys at Ford Field Thursday night at 8:20 on the Eastern side, 7:20 Central, and what is all of a sudden looks like possibly a playoff elimination game. Great to have you with us. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Crossover Thursday presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. First off, Marcus, great to see you. Obviously, a lot to get into. Biggest storyline in Dallas. Hey, looks like the Cowboys are back, right? There's life again at Jerry World.
I don't know if they're back, but they're playing good football. And for Cowboy fans, that's honestly all we wanted to see after how bad the season started, just to have them start to play better and to have some meaningful games, Matt. I mean, listen, you and I have both been through this where you're covering a team that's playing games into, November and December that just don't matter for anything. And for a Cowboys team that started off the season was 1-3 and 1 point, to have a game like this on Thursday Night Football, it's not quite a playoff game, but it's pretty darn close. It's a lot of fun.
What's been the biggest difference? We'll get to the Lions in a second, but what's going on that's made this work? Obviously, the additions to the D-line. I love what the interior's done, and it seems like some of your guys that you drafted too, including Azaraku, are starting to show up.
Yeah, it's surprising that good players make your defense better, right? Like it's not a huge surprise when you add someone like Quinnen Williams. Suddenly your run defense gets better. You're able to create more pressure on the quarterback, and they've really stumbled into something here with these 5-man defensive line looks where they get all three of their defensive tackles on the field. Kenny Clark, Osa Odighizuwa, and then Quinnen Williams. You mentioned Donovan Ezaraku. He is Pro Football Focus's highest graded rookie so far this year. He only has 2 sacks, and if you look at the box scores, you won't be overly impressed, but really strong run defender. He's creating a bunch of pressure. So you've got this defensive line that's starting to win their individual matchups, and they're covering up some of the mistakes on the back end, but you're also getting guys back healthy on defense, including Savon Ravel, their 3rd-round pick from East Carolina, Kalen Carson, who missed the first half of the season. Trayvon Diggs might be playing in this game. It's not a dominating unit by any stretch, but it's a much improved unit compared to what we saw in the first 2 months of the season.
6-5-1 Cowboys, a 7-5 Lions. Big game and a home game here, Marcus, for this team. And I don't really know where to go and what to tell you about storylines here in Detroit. And for the Cowboy viewers and listeners here on Locked On Cowboys, you're not facing last year's Lions team, and you're not facing 2 years ago's Lions team, but they have the capability on Thursday night to show up, man up. They haven't lost 2 in a row in 3 years, and win a football game they must have. And they just aren't sharp. They're not crisp. They're making mistakes, whether it's penalties. There's been a lot of injuries, and I do think they're going to play that card at the end of the year unless they make a run. But they're just not playing Lions football. It just has not been the same look and the same team. Yet here they are with a chance at home to kind of right a wrong from last week on Thanksgiving. I know you saw it, and where the Packers really kind of beat them up a little bit. Yes, it was a close game, and yes, the Lions made a nice run to get it within 7, but they couldn't close, and they haven't been playing all that well at home. A bad home loss to Minnesota, losing to Green Bay, narrowly escaping against a 2-win Giant team at Ford Field. I'm hoping that this team comes out with a purpose and a fervor on Thursday, but I just don't know. I'm scratching my head like you are, Marcus.
Yeah, I mean, coaches will always say injuries aren't an excuse, but again, you and I have been covering the league for long enough that we know that it is, right? At some point you get to, where you just don't have starting caliber players on the field. It seems like Detroit is there on the offensive line right now with their interior, and it seems like they're that way in the secondary right now with Terrion Arnold. He's out for the year with a shoulder injury. Kirby Joseph is dealing with a knee injury. you've got some guys that have made some plays, including like Amik Robertson, but they're not Terrion Arnold and they're not Kirby Joseph. And at some point, the lack of talent just starts to win out.
It's interesting. You brought up the secondary. I mean, they need Kirby back, and we'll see if he can go on Thursday and give it a try with a giant knee brace on. Terrion Arnold has been kind of a mystery for 2 years. First round pick, I thought would have a better year this year. Calvin Shepard, the D coordinator, said during camp, there's a guy that's going to have a breakout year this year. It's been him. It would be him. It really hasn't been. When he's been healthy, he's been better, but he hasn't been healthy. Now, you mentioned out for the year. Lions have been able to piece together the secondary with some backups. Rock Yassin and others have played pretty well. Their biggest issue has been getting to the quarterback. And in watching you guys on Thanksgiving Day and the week before, heck, everybody watches the Cowboys. They're always on wherever you are. It looks like Dak's comfortable. And the Chiefs, I know, tried like crazy to blitz him the other day. And, man, they picked it up. And
it's been one of the best parts of their offense this year is their ability to beat the blitz. And it helps when you've got two receivers like CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. And that's honestly probably what Detroit was hoping this year with Amon-Ra St. Brown and, Jameson Williams. But with Amon-Ra dealing with an ankle injury right now, we still don't know if he's going to go in this game. Even if he does, he's going to be severely compromised. It really helps to have these two receivers that can get open at will against man coverage or zone coverage. And one more thing from the Cowboys side of things, they've been saying that this is going to be their toughest game of the season. And it's easy to understand why. You're playing on the road. It's 7 days from Thursday to Thursday, but it's still kind of a short week because of, usually you get 10 days off after playing a Thursday game. That's not the case here. It's a Lions team that really their backs up are against the wall. I think we're going to see Dan Campbell be ultra aggressive. But if they can win this game and they can get to 7-5-1, that'll mean they've won 4 straight games. The rest of their schedule is pretty easy, including games against the Giants, the Commanders, Minnesota. They feel like they could really go on a run, but they've got to take care of business against a team that they remember running up the score on them last year. So it's going to be a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah, these two teams have played some wild games the last couple of years. Obviously, the controversial reporting game in Dallas a couple of years ago with Taylor Decker and Dan Skipper. Heck, Marcus, every single time they announce that number 70 is eligible at Ford Field, just on a regular play with Dan Skipper, the crowd goes nuts. They love it. It's become a bit here, and that was 2 years ago. And then obviously, like you said, last year, everybody loved the way the Lions just boat raced the Cowboys, but that was the day Aidan Hutchinson was lost for the year when he broke his fibula and tibia. So it was like, yes, you're celebrating a big Lions win against America's team, but that was the Aidan injury day. So it's weird timing now that they're playing now. Again, I'm not sure Lions fans know what to expect Thursday night. This could be the Lions team that comes out with Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams and Goff has time to throw, and boom, they're running it down the field and doing a great job offensively, and the defense is stepping up. Or it could be early on, something happens, a mistake, a special teams error, CD gets open, Ferguson in the seam, and man, all of a sudden it'll get a little quiet in that building. They need a fresh and fast start in this game. Or else, I mean, fans have said, like I said, they sat through a rough one against the Giants. The Vikings home loss was bad. And then this past Thursday against the Packers was not good. So they need to get the crowd into it, and they need to start the game pretty quickly.
Unfortunately, that's where the Cowboys have been really bad. Against the Eagles, was it 2 weeks ago? They gave up 21 points in the first quarter. It was a disaster. They had to fight their way all the way back to win that game. And even on Thursday against Kansas City, Cowboys had an interception on the first drive. The Chiefs scored in 2 plays after that, and they were down 7-0 in the first 2 minutes of that game. So I'm going to be curious to see, can the Cowboys get off to a faster start, because they believe that the game script is going to be really important here. If you can take a lead and then lean on your running game and make Jared Goff have to be a drop back passer with this pass rush, that's how they can steal this game. It's going to be fun to watch.
Thursday crossover brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Matt and Marcus with you, Locked On Lions, Locked On Cowboys. We'll get into some matchups coming up next on the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. As we told you earlier, Locked On Lions, Locked On Cowboys, brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports, bowl games, big basketball matchups, obviously playoff pushes in the NFL. It's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stat projections, look at your lineup or lock in your lineup, look at it, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, and available in 45 states, which includes Texas, California, Florida, and Georgia. You create a lineup, takes less than a minute. It's easy. And the app makes the whole process smooth and intuitive. You can choose from a huge range of unique stats, fantasy score, field goals attempted, free throws made, turnovers, whatever fits your strategy. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL. You'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Matt Dery, Locked On Lions. Marcus Mosher, Locked On Cowboys. Great to see Marcus, as always, does a great job with his show. Check us out daily here, wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, please subscribe on our Locked On Lions and Locked On Cowboys YouTube channels. All right, matchups. Marcus, I got to ask you, and right, this is an easy one for both of us. Aidan Hutchinson eats for breakfast, lunch, and dinner backup tackles. He just does. He thrives going against the backups. Here we go with Guyton. I think out. Is that correct for Thursday? So what does that mean? And I think that's probably the biggest matchup where I would expect the guard to slide over and tight ends are chipping and all of that.
Yeah, and the Cowboys feel very comfortable with Nate Thomas as their backup tackle. He's played a lot this year. He's not the most powerful player in the run game, and that's really where his weakness is at. But they've left him alone on an island against some really good pass rushers this year, and they've had some success. I don't think they're going to do that all the time against Aidan Hutchinson, because why would you do that? He's their best player. If you can limit him at all, you can score points on this defense. But you're going to see plenty of chances in this game for Hutchinson to go up against Terrence Steele and Nate Thomas one-on-one. It's a matchup that the Cowboys have to limit his dominance, because I do think he's going to make plays. He's too good of a player to completely take out of the game, but they can't let him wreck the game like that he has in the past. Keep an eye on Aidan Hutchinson, because he can certainly win this game alone for Detroit.
What other matchups intrigue you? What are you seeing when you watch this game?
Intrigued is the wrong word, because I'm not intrigued to watch Jahmyr Gibbs against the Cowboys linebackers, because that's a matchup that greatly favors Detroit. I'm not so concerned about his ability to run between the tackles, because that is where the Cowboys have their strength with Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark and Osa Digizua. And we should mention Solomon Thomas. Like, they've got 4 defensive tackles they feel really good about. But if I were Dan Campbell and the Lions coaching staff, I would be trying to get Jahmyr Gibbs in space against these Cowboy linebackers as frequently as possible, because Kenneth Murray is too aggressive. He's not disciplined at all. Logan Wilson, who they traded for the Bengals, man, we might be able to beat him in a foot race right now. That's how slow Logan Wilson is, right? And now DeMarvion Overshown is back, but he's still returning from a massive, massive knee injury. He's still not 100%. So if you can get Gibbs out in space, either as a receiver, as a runner, and really take advantage of those Cowboys linebackers, I think the Lions could have a big day on offense.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned the D tackles and getting rid of Micah Parsons, and he was an absolute game wrecker in both games this year that the Lions lost to the Packers, 2.5 sacks last week. But Kenny Clark is no slouch, and that's where the concern has been. The Lions thought they might have had Frank Ragnow back, and in this game, just a couple of last week when it was announced that he was returning, then tears his hamstring, so that's not happening. So now they got to go back to square one, which I assume is going to be Graham Glasgow at center and Coyote Awashika at left guard, and it just hasn't worked. The interior of that line just is pushing people into Jared Goff. As you know, if you pressure Goff up the middle, he's susceptible. He just hasn't been as sharp, and he's had his moments where he's played well. There were times in the Green Bay game that kind of got the offense going. He was finding, of all people, Tom Kennedy in the slot for a lot of activity there, and TK85 is kind of a local legend here. He's been cut and released and brought back 50 times, kind of the modern day just vagabond, but he's been really good. The Andre Fluellen of this time. But now you look at it and you go, can they just move the ball? I think it could end up being a shootout this game. And so if they're able to block for Goff and, like you said, get Gibbs both in the pass game and run game, getting out in space, Lions are going to score. I'm also concerned that the way the Dallas offense is playing, that Cowboys are going to put up some points too.
Yeah, and for Dallas, it's the two receivers. It's CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. These guys have kind of had alternating games, and that's what you want, right? You want it to be where, against the Chiefs, it was a big CeeDee Lamb game. He had over 100 yards and a touchdown. He drew 3 pass interference calls, but it was George Pickens late in the game who made 2 big catches on slants to kind of seal it. Against the Philadelphia, it was George Pickens who had the big day, and CeeDee Lamb had a couple catches late in the game to seal it. The Cowboys think in this matchup with Detroit's cornerbacks, who, again, I covered Amik Robertson when he was with the Raiders. One of my favorite players to cover.
Yeah.
He's tiny. I mean, he is maybe 5'8", 180 pounds. DJ Reed, also not a big corner. They think that CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens can, they can dominate this matchup. They can go down the field, make big plays. Brian Schottenheimer's talked about throwing the slants to George Pickens over and over again until somebody stops it. I wouldn't be surprised in this game if you see more of these slow goes, the fake slant and then going down the field to try to take advantage of Detroit's aggressiveness in the secondary.
I think that's where Brian Branch comes in. He's got to have a big game. He is a scud missile out there and a big hitter. He can kind of put a little fear into the receivers if he can get downfield and smash some people. You mentioned if Kirby Joseph doesn't play, that's where high point in the ball and Pickens going up, and we've seen it this year. Some of the plays that he's made in the air.
Do you think Kirby Joseph plays, by the way?
I don't know. I mean, 1 minute it's, hey, he's out there at practice, big knee brace, but he's going to try to go. And the next minute it's, let's give him a day off. There was a lot of rumors and stuff on Twitter about season ending and career ending. And then he denied that. Then he got off social media. It's been a weird week for Kirby. I think he's going to try to give it a go in warmups. We'll see. I just don't know how good he'll be. Thomas Harper, the backup, Marcus, hasn't been terrible, but Kirby Joseph's your ball hawk, your leading interceptor. Heck, he's got the team leading interceptions with 3 still, and he's missed the last 6 weeks. So that's where the Lions have got to get a paw up, get a turnover, something, and change kind of the momentum that has gone against them the last couple weeks. I mean, this past weekend, they got, 2 weeks ago, Wan'Dale Robinson lit him up. Last week, it was Dontarian Wicks. So if you're not able to guard those guys, what are you going to do against your big two? That's my concern.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Kirby Joseph plays this game, if the Cowboys don't try to attack him early, just to kind of see what kind of shape he's in, physically, how healthy he is. The Cowboys have been pretty aggressive in targeting, either the worst defensive back or the least healthy defensive back all season long. And one of the things that I really like about Brian Schottenheimer is once he finds a weak spot in your secondary, he's just going to spam it over and over and over again until you either take that guy off the field or figure out a way to hide him. So again, if Kirby Joseph is in this game, expect the Cowboys to attack him.
I got to ask you, how's Jerry been lately? What's going on with good old Jera?
Jerry's been loving this team. The new Hard Knocks series just came out over on HBO. And one of the things, for all of Jerry's faults, is you can tell that he really loves his team. And I don't know if it's because of all the criticism he got over the last couple of months and now they're starting to win, or if he really believes something special is going on here. But there's definitely there's something different about this team compared to previous years, Matt, where in my entire lifetime, they've lost that Chiefs game. They've lost that Eagles game. They get behind 21-0. They don't come back. They fold. There's a certain toughness about this Cowboys team that they have now. And whether it's because of the Quinn and Williams trade, whether it's because, they're really rallying after the Marshawn Nealon tragedy, I don't know. But there's something that feels very different about this team, even compared to like 2023 and 2022 when the Cowboys were winning 12 games every season. I think they're really starting to believe in themselves, and that can be very dangerous in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an unbelievable run for this Lions team with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and how well they've played, and to go from 3 wins to 9 wins to 12 to 15. And right now, like we said, I mean, I'm not closing windows or doors. I'm not telling you the season's over today. Now, if they lose Thursday, all bets are off here, and they've got a lot of injuries, and maybe they play the injury card and start shutting guys down for the year, which would suck. But it's a weird spot that the Lions are in, similar to 4 or 5 weeks ago when people are like, well, Dallas is done. And all of a sudden now you guys have rallied and made those moves at the deadline. And the Lions really didn't do much at the deadline. So that was something that fans are upset about. How could Brad Holmes not go out and get an edge rusher or somebody like that? We mentioned Ezraku before.
Mm-hmm.
I loved him. I thought maybe the Lions could take him in the late 20s. They took Tyleik Williams instead, and he's been okay. But Ezraku's probably been better and probably would have been a nice fit here. So we'll see. That kid plays well. Look out.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Ezraku is really coming on. Just for the Locked On Cowboy listeners, the Lions have a very tough schedule the rest of the way. They play the Rams after Dallas, and they even play Pittsburgh, who Pittsburgh could be fighting for that division spot in the AFC North. So that's why this is such a big game. Is you fall behind, you get to 7-6, at this point, it's going to be really hard to make a climb in the NFC with every team basically having 9 wins in the playoff hunt right now.
Yeah, it's wild. And the Lions also finished their season in Chicago. So the Ben Johnson revenge game, he wants to avenge week 2. All right, when we come back, let's discuss how the Cowboys win this game, some keys, and also the Lions as well on this Thursday crossover brought to you by Prize Picks. Matt Dery, Locked On Lions, Marcus Mosher, Locked On Cowboys on the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. Thursday night football once again for these teams as they get, as Marcus said earlier, just a week, then a longer stretch for next week. But the Cowboys are playing good football and looking to make it 3 straight wins kind of in this gauntlet that was with Philly, KC, and Detroit back to back to back. All right, Marcus, how do the Cowboys win this game? What do you see?
Cowboys win this game on offense. Like that's just the way that they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to score 30 plus points to win, and they can do it. Like we've seen them get some really good defenses this year, score 30, 35. I think the best example is they played the Packers. I think it was in week 5. They were without 3 starting offensive linemen. They were without CeeDee Lamb, and they scored 40 points. Now, again, that's early in the season as everybody's kind of adjusting, but I think this is a game where if the Cowboys want to win, 31 points needs to be the target. And for them to do that, they're going to have to protect Dak Prescott. And I don't know if it's going to be more 6 and 7 man protections where you're leaving Javonte Williams in, you're leaving a tight end in to chip Aidan Hutchinson. That's the number one thing here. If the Cowboys can protect Dak Prescott, they should have wide receivers running open against the secondary. But I think Detroit's going to be aggressive. They're going to send blitzes. They're going to stunt. They're going to do everything possible to try to disrupt him. We'll see if the Cowboys' protection plan is ready to go.
Yeah, you just said it. Calvin Shepard, the Lions D coordinator, said this week that they're going to change some things up in order to get to the quarterback. Jameis Winston was on vacation in the backfield 2 weeks ago against the Lions for the Giants, was not touched in that game until the last play of the game when he finally got sacked on that 4th down and the Lions converted it in overtime. And then last week, Jordan Love, again, two straight times the Lions have played Green Bay this year. Love has had all day to throw. I think the Lions have 4 sacks in the last 4 games, and that's not enough.
No.
And it's not all about sacks. You got to get pressures, hurries, and all that. But I'm with you. I think Calvin Shepard empties the tank here in terms of what he's going to do to get Dak Prescott rattled. That's going to be a big key, and I think the Lions have to get pressure on. They got to also protect Jared Goff. And I really think the first 5 to 10 minutes of this game, whether it's clock minutes or just, our watches, the Lions have to come out with a purpose. If this is another clunker start like they've had recently at home, natives are going to get restless. I was at the Giants game. They were booing. Lions go 3 and out. Boo birds were coming down. This fan base has been, and I love these fans. They're great fans, and they've waited for a good team for a long time. But they've been a bit spoiled by how good this franchise has been the last 3 years. And they expect better. And they've just, to me, if the Lions come out and play well and grab a quick lead and up 7-0 and the crowd gets into it, that's a big, I know it's only the first 5 minutes. You got to play 60, but I think getting off to a good start is so important for them.
And for Dallas, it's the same thing. They cannot get behind early in these games because once Detroit gets a lead, they can run the ball. They can be aggressive on offense. You want them to be in a position like they were against Philadelphia a couple of weeks ago, where you're having to throw the ball on every single down and you're having to get back into this drop back game. I think Detroit's going to come out extremely fired up and aggressive early on. And I agree with you. Landon and I said in our preview show that the first 10 minutes of like real-time action are going to decide this game, because if the Cowboys get down 7-0, 14-0, it could really turn. But if you can kind of survive that initial onslaught, I think you're going to be okay.
Lions really miss Sam LaPorta too, Marcus. So if there's no St. Brown and no LaPorta, obviously he's already out. It's just, and Brock Wright, their second tight end, is also out. So they really don't know what they're going to do at tight end this week. Some guys they have on the practice squad, they might elevate. But like you said, with the linebackers, if there's some misdirection and Goff's rolling and hitting a tight end, that wouldn't be bad. I just don't know how much confidence he has in Ross Dwelly or Zach Horton or Anthony Ferkser or any of these guys that right now are a part of the roster, which is too bad because, like you said, picking on that Cowboy linebacking room might not be a bad idea.
And I'm sure Matt Eberflus knows that. I think you're going to see a lot of cover 3 in this game, which is basically designed for teams to try to throw the ball down the middle of the field to the tight ends. And that can be a dangerous spot, right? If you overthrow the ball just a little bit, you're talking about an interception and the ball going the other way. You've got to be on time and be accurate. And with your third and fourth string tight ends in the game, that's where it could be a problem. So I'm fascinated by what Dan Campbell is going to do in this game. I don't think he had a particularly good game coaching against Green Bay.
No.
I think he was a little too run heavy, especially on third and fourth downs when maybe they should have been more aggressive throwing the ball. I wouldn't be surprised to see him change it up a little bit in this contest.
God, I suck, man. I didn't even realize. Do you know the last time Matt Eberflus was at Ford Field? Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was a Thanksgiving game.
He got fired.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the disastrous clock runs down.
Mm-hmm.
Bears have no clue what they're doing at the end of the game. And some of that was Caleb Williams too, but I just forgot. Matt Eberflus coming back to the place that ended his head coaching career. So
maybe we'll see Matt Eberflus revenge game. Who knows? Well, I will say this is one advantage that the Cowboys do have is Matt Eberflus knows this Lions team well.
Yeah, he does.
From coaching in this division for a while.
Yeah.
Now, does that matter when it comes to game day? Does it matter with this roster? We'll see. But it's not like they're completely unfamiliar with each other.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right, Marcus, you want to do a prediction?
Sure.
Are we staying out of that action?
No. I'll give you mine, and you're feel free to give you yours.
Sure.
I think the Lions do win this game. I think it's a 34-31 type of game where both teams are going up and down the field.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
Detroit is very banged up. There's no doubt. But this is a kitchen sink game for them where they have to have this game if they want to have even any shot of making the postseason. I think the Cowboys are still figuring out how to win on the road. I'll take Detroit here.
Yeah, I like that score a lot. I think it is going to be a shootout. Someone's going to have to make a play on defense, some sort of a turnover, a takeaway to give them a short field. They've had long fields now the last couple of weeks, and I'm with you. I think the Lions salvage this. I'm not so sure what it's going to lead to. I'm hoping they could go on a run. You mentioned the schedule, but I mean, next week they got 10 days to prepare, but they got to go play Matthew Stafford in LA. So that's always intriguing. But Marcus, great to see you. And let's have a good game on Thursday night.
Absolutely.
Marcus Mosher, Locked On Cowboys. Matt Dery, Locked On Lions. The Thursday crossover brought to you by Prize Picks. Stay with us daily here on Locked On Lions and Locked On Cowboys on the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network.